Hello, people of YouTube. My name is Steve Gray. This is Gray's Guitars. Thank you for watching. Today, we're going to be talking about what I think modern players want from Gibson, what they want to see on a Gibson Les Paul. Now, before we get into this, I think what Gibson is doing currently is fine, but minus with the modern line. I completely agree. You got to adhere to your audience, so you got to have those 50 standards that people that don't want, like the actual 50 style Gibson, the 60 style, etc. Those need to stay in the mix, but I think for the modern series, they need to go all out, give the players what they actually want for more people to buy them. That's why you see a lot of metalheads going to Epiphone. You look at, Matt Heffy's recent Epiphone, 24 frets, 25.5-inch scale length, Fishman Fluence pickups. You got that modern heel joint, which I prefer the Access, but we'll get into that in a moment. I think that might have, it's either Grover locking tuners or Grover tuners, one of the two. And just a lot of specs that, the modern guitarist wants to see on a Gibson, but Gibson doesn't really offer. Unless you go with the Epiphone line, which a lot of that, the Prophecy, things like those, that's competing more with like the LTD series, things along those lines. So let's take a look at this Gibson Les Paul Studio, which you have seen before. And, I mean, not a lot has changed with these things. It's 12-inch radius, nickel frets, 2 pickups, 3-way selector switch, no push poles, no comfort cuts in the back, no locking tuners. The tuner placement is also something I'm going to be talking about. And there's a lot of things that are offered today that Gibson still really doesn't put on its guitars, and a lot of people want to see. Now, a lot of people that complained about the PCB boards back when they were doing them, I think they started doing those around like 2015, maybe a little earlier. I know they stopped doing them around like 2018. They still put them in some guitars. But a lot like the 50 standard, the 60 standard, they're not putting them in those, and I completely agree. You want those to be that particular spec for that particular year. Now, what I think is those are fine. I really like the idea of being able to fully customize, going into the back, flipping the switches, having all of those push-pull pot controls, like the 2017. I think it was like the Blueberry Burst, High Performance, whatever. I know they had a bunch of different colors. That is the one Gibson that I really, really want. Now, the robot tuner thing, probably not. A lot of people had complaints about that, but we'll kind of work our way up. Pickup selection. You should offer different pickups. I mean, yeah, you can have Gibson branded pickups in there. I maybe offer Seymour Duncan, maybe offer DiMarzio, EMGs, Fishman Fluence. Have like I know like Guitar Center orders like specific models with weird specs. Maybe do that, bring that more to the masses. See what pickups are the most popular. I mean, as I said, a lot of people like Fishman Fluence pickups. Maybe throw those in there. That may be an idea. Hardware-wise, I would say roller bridges. There's no reason why you can't include a roller bridge on there or have a Gibson actual branded roller bridge. I think that would be an excellent idea to include a roller bridge of some sort. Now, something a lot of people complain about, especially on the old style guitars, is there's no belly cut. LTD does it. I think Kiesel does it. Epiphone even does it on a few models now. There's no reason Gibson can't be putting a belly cut on the back of the guitars, especially like a studio now. A purist isn't buying a studio. Who's buying a studio? Someone that wants Gibson, wants the sound, doesn't have the money to buy a standard or something fancy, wants something that is going to be comfortable, excellent playability, everything along those lines. I mean, I wouldn't even care if they grounded this side of this down, like they did with the Firebrand guitars back when they were making those. I think I'd be perfectly fine with them doing that as well. Finishes, binding, I don't really have a problem with that, so we'll leave that be. Moving up to the neck. Two things I would love to see Gibson do that they rarely do. They have made, I think, a 24 fret, couple of 24 fret guitars. So they do it occasionally. They don't do it a lot, but make the Modern have 24 frets. And you know what those frets should be? Those frets, that's right, you know where I'm going with this, need to be stainless steel. A lot of people, stainless have been going to stainless steel. They have to go other places to get it. And if you put stainless steel on like a modern player guitar, then I think a large amount of people would flock to it. They'd be like, holy crap, a Gibson stainless steel jumbo frets. I want that. That thing's going to be a great player. Another thing with the neck, maybe experiment with some different woods. A lot of people love roasted maple, and yes, Gibson has done roasted maple fretboards. They haven't done roasted maple necks. They do regular maple necks, but I'm going to pull out my SG here. This is a 2011 SG Melody Maker. This was probably like the cheapest Gibson you could buy. I think they were sub $1,000. And while I don't particularly like this style headstock without the wings, this is they call it like a petrified or purified maple fretboard. I would love to see Gibson do a roasted maple neck with a light, maybe like a tungsten oil finish on it. You can do whatever fretboard material you want, either rosewood, ebony, maple. You could continue the roasted maple for the entire thing. And I think a lot of people would be happy with that. Get rid of the sticky finish. A lot of people, actually end up going with like Scotch-Brite, something on the back of a lot of the Gibsons. A lot of companies like Fender now have, gotten smart, and you're like, hey, let's make this back of the neck satin, so that way it's not as sticky. We can still make the headstock gloss so it stands out more. We can make the fretboard gloss because, that's a standard spec. A lot of people like the gloss maple fretboards. But if we make it satin, a lot more people will play it, a lot more people will flock to it, and that's something I do see. There's no reason that you can't have a roasted maple neck on a Gibson. Another thing that Gibson can do a little bit better is I think they can design a better heel joint. The Access was fine. I had played on an Access. I like those. The Moderns, I don't like them as much. They're trying. I will give them that. They are trying to do something where you get higher access. Hello, cat. There's a cat down here. I don't know if you can see him or not. To the frets. And they just really want upper fret access. Hi, cat. Say hi to people of YouTube. This is Kirby. And they just really want that upper fret access, especially if you're going to end up doing 24 frets on a guitar. Nut-wise, they do a lot of Graphtec on the Ebophones now. I think they're doing it on some Gibsons, but not all of them. Sometimes it's the Corinne nut, sometimes it's a composite nut. But I would really like to see, some Graphtec nuts if Gibson is not doing it. As I said, that probably ultimately depends on the model, but that is what it is. Now, the last two things we'll say, Gibsons are expensive. Give me some strap locks, please. There's no reason you can't give me a strap lock on the guitar. And the last thing is the tuner placement. So yes, I want locking tuners. If you're going to give me a robot tuner, well, don't give me a robot tuners. A lot of people did complain about them. So stay away from the robot tuners. That's fine. There's no reason they can't do like a PRS style placement of the tuners, where they just make the shafts of the tuners longer and they put the tuners farther inward, as opposed to having them, in a line where just the middle tuner is a slightly edged in there. All they would have to do is just move the Les Paul logo down the slightest bit. The Gibson logo isn't going to need to change. The placement of that is perfectly fine. Goodbye, cat. Where it is. And just bring the tuners closer together. That way, people will stop complaining about the G string. Because a lot of gigging musicians, if you're in a studio or whatever, you just tune it back to pitch, not an issue. But I have heard complaints from people gigging either the Epiphone models or the Gibson models or whatever, something with the 3x3 headstock where the tuner placement looks like that. It's rough sometimes. If the nut is cut right, everything is done correct on the guitar, you're going to be fine. Maybe every 5 or 6 songs, you might want to just throw that tuner back on to make sure there's no issues. But it shouldn't have to be like that. Gibson has done it in the past. I don't remember the model. Check out Trogley's show. There was some double cut model where they did it. They left the Gibson they actually made the Gibson headstock shape completely different, but they moved the tuners in. And you don't really need to do that. You just can move the tuners in, make the shafts longer if needed, and then bada bing, bada boom, you are good to go. Have some cool locking tuners. That's pretty much it. That's what I think needs to be done to the Les Paul for, the masses, the younger generation, to actually go flock to them. Even if it is $2 or $3 grand, if you make all of these changes that the younger generations actually want, then you're going to have more people actually buying the guitar. So let's just start from the bottom, work our way up. So, PCB boards are fine, push-pull pots, possibly Fishman Fluence pickups, roller bridge, locking strap locks, 24 frets, stainless steel preferred, roasted maple neck, Graph Tech nut, locking tuners, fix the tuning placement. Yes, this looks beautiful. I like the way this looks, but for playability, move the tuners. That's all I'm saying. So that's where we're going to end it. Let me know if there's anything else that you think should be moved on Gibsons. It doesn't have to be just the Les Paul. I used the Les Paul, as the main one here. Like Explorers, no reason you can't do belly cuts on those. I have seen belly cuts on Explorers before. Same with Flying V's. You can know it's the back of the guitar. Who's going to see it besides the player? Adjust it, fix it, modify it for the modern player. Don't make it, don't just do what they did in 2015 where they were like, no, we're going to switch everything to this. No, you have to offer both options. And that's what it is. It's all about the options. You need to have the classics there for the people that want them, and you need to have the modern players there for the people that are, gigging musicians today and want to use them to play out and have better specs than there were back in the 50s. That's all I'm saying. My name is Steve Gray. This is Gray's Guitars. Thank you for watching, and as always, have a good one.